If you've been applying for jobs and hearing crickets, this episode is going to feel like a huge relief because it might not be you, it might be the system. Today, I'm sitting down with Megan Applegate, a career strategist and former recruiter who's seen thousands of resumes from the inside, and she's breaking down why high qualified working women get filtered out before a human ever sees their name. We're talking ATS truth, the biggest resume mistakes that quietly tank your chances, how to use AI without sounding like a bot, and Megan's TAP approach to help you get market ready so you can stop wasting time and start landing interviews with clarity and confidence. Let's dive in. Welcome to Career Growth for Working Women. If you're ambitious, capable, and quietly carrying more than your role reflects, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, promotion and compensation coach, and I help women fast track their next promotion by teaching them how to show their value so clearly leadership can't overlook them. Here, we talk about career advancement, visibility, burnout recovery, and building confidence without burning yourself out or shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time, and let's get into it. Hello and welcome. I'm thrilled to have Megan Applegate, career strategist and founder of Career Blueprint Solutions, on the show today. Before she coached professionals, she spent years as a recruiter and talent acquisition director, which means she knows exactly why incredible candidates get filtered out before a human ever sees their resume. Megan created the TAP approach, the talent acquisition protocol, a systematic method that helps job seekers beat the ATS, stand out to hiring managers, and apply with confidence instead of guesswork. If you've ever been overwhelmed by job searching, if you've ever heard nothing back despite being highly qualified, or if you're a working mom trying to make a career move without wasting time you don't have, this conversation's for you. Megan, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to
Thank
have you here
you.
today.
Thanks, Shannon. I appreciate the opportunity. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you've seen thousands of resumes from the recruiter side. What surprised you most about how many great candidates get filtered out before anyone even reads their name?
Um, I think that most people just things have just changed dramatically in the way that we think about writing a resume, right? I remember being in school and it was very black and white and it has to be this font and it can't be this. And so like fast forward now, even in the last 5 years, there's like been a huge shift, especially with AI, right? And the big scary AI. And there's a lot of myths that I think that people don't understand. About like the journey of where an application goes and that all stems from how you format and write a resume, right? And so
Right.
what I see a lot of people miss is just the simple piece of thinking about how if I'm going to write a resume and it has to go into this ATS system, right? Which I think most people understand, like, how does that happen? How do I have to format it? And how am I making sure I'm matching what I'm looking to do, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And it seems silly to me now, but like just, people put their full address on a resume, right? And I'm like, oh, we don't want to do that, right? You don't want people who are knowing where you live.
Right.
They forget to even put a title on their resume. Like as a recruiter, right? I need to know what I'm looking at immediately. You have about 6 to 10 seconds to really capture my attention. And if I can't absorb the gist of it within that time frame, we just look at too many, it just becomes the no pile.
Right.
So I feel like it's some really simple tweaks around being really specific about how you write it to number one, just get into the ATS system.
Okay.
Does that
Yeah,
answer your
yeah,
question? Yeah.
that makes sense. So you mentioned AI. I mean, and I think that's like everybody's going, all right, well, do I use AI? Do I not use AI? How can I use AI without it sounding like it's a bot? Like, what are
Right.
your suggestions? I mean, around that, like, what are your thoughts around AI and writing your resume?
I think AI it serves a purpose, right? It serves a purpose to help people understand what a good format is and understand, you can write a resume. There's so many templates out there that, they probably created that are ATS. friendly is per se, right? And so you can use AI for that purpose, right? Help me, put it into a format that we know will get into the ATS system because that's the number one stopper.
Right.
But then you have to keep in mind just because you can get it into the ATS system, can you then get a recruiter to look at it? And then from there, if they say yes, it goes to the hiring manager. Then the idea is it strategically written where I'm actually going to get an interview and beat out all the people? So
Right.
when it comes to the ATS, it's helpful to have that system to kind of do the check and the balance, right? I
Right.
think where people kind of get the misstep with only utilizing AI is that the AI is still a robot, right? It's still a computer, so there's there's no strategy in
Right.
it, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
I think you can use it in one way to really kind of just define what you need to do, but then you can't rely on it completely.
Right. The heart of it has to come from you and show
Correct.
it because that's the emotional part of you that they
Right.
want to see, right?
Yes, it's the narrative of your actual story.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people just are like, well, this was the job I did and this is how I did it. When in
Right.
reality, that's not what we're looking for, right? We're looking for not how you did it, but what did you do to make the company successful and
Right.
utilizing statistics in that way where you really can show. And that's how you can get ahead of everybody else. If I could give anyone one piece of advice, honestly,
Yes.
that's what it would be. To stop listing the job duties and descriptions and actually like think about how you're successful. What did you do and what was that outcome?
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So, what are some other mistakes that maybe our listeners are, maybe they are like, I'm trying to rewrite my resume, apply for a job. I want to make sure I avoid these common mistakes. What are some common mistakes that you think that most make?
Um, I would say number one is writing a resume that is more than 2 pages. Um, I've seen resumes come in that are 7, 8 pages long.
Oh, wow.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that like a lot of people just have a hard time. They want to think, oh, it's like a memoir of their entire existence from when they first started, working. And you have to think, okay, like if you're at a certain level in your career, we'll just take my industry that I was in, hospitality, right? If I'm a food and beverage director now, we want to look at how we want to make it forward. We want to think about what is your next step. And does putting that I was a bartender, 15 years ago help you? And the answer is no, right? We want to
Right.
make it
Right.
concise. We want to make it future, and we want to not list everything in that we've ever done in a world. Because honestly, if you're at a food and beverage director role, there's no way you got there without starting from the beginning.
Right.
So the thought that you need to list all that, I would say, is one of the biggest mistakes.
Okay.
The second one is, again, this is more of a psychology kind of point of view, but think about when you write a resume, how do I engineer the top third? Because that ultimately, again, when you think about it, getting through the ATS, then landing in a recruiter's hands, then ultimately landing in that hiring manager's hands, we're reading from the top down. And because we scan first, right? And
Right.
then we read, if you can't capture our attention in that first kind of 1/3 is what I kind of think about, then you're kind of missing the boat. So those things would be obviously your contact information. Make sure you have your LinkedIn profile URL in that too. I see a lot of people miss that one.
Hmm.
Title, which we talked about. I also started putting 3 essential keywords right with my title. And what that will do is help with that immediate understanding of what you are best at. right? I think
Mhm.
about it in that value proposition statement that we all hate to do, but is important
Right.
when you think about writing a resume.
Right.
So putting that on, and then you've got your executive summary, right?
Mhm.
Short and sweet,
Right.
no more than 3 to 5 sentences, which is basically kind of iterating what that value proposition statement is, what you do, how long have you been doing it, who do you for, and what is your outcome, right?
Right. Right.
And then next should be always your professional skills section before we talk about anything else, before you get into the meat of your experience, because again, the skill piece is where we actually utilize the ATI piece in our favor. Because if you think about it, just like in SEO, it's how we match, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so if we are saying, if our skills are buried at the bottom and they're the last section in your resume and it's on the second bottom of the second page, you're not getting the most out of that. So we want that to be clear and in that first third of your resume, I would say, would be like 2 to 3 of my top tips.
Oh, I love that because it's important. I feel like that you're showing your value from the
Hmm.
very beginning
Right.
so that because I mean, I'm sure that these recruiters and hiring managers, they get hundreds of them sometimes. I mean, I know I had someone apply for a job and they had over 300 applicants. And
Yeah.
so just to go through them, like you said, that first third is so important because they're just going to skim first.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I love that. So you have a tap approach that you teach, right? Can
Hmm.
you walk us through the heart of that and
Sure.
and what was so different about that from traditional resume advice?
Yeah, it's a great question. And this all has to do with a couple different things, right? It has to do with, I look at career development kind of in three different phases or pieces. The resume obviously is a big, huge one because, that's like the heart of the document that we have to have in order to apply for a job. You also have the job search itself, right? And
Right,
that could be from A to Z. That is applying, that includes the resume, but that gets you all the way down to the interview phase, right? And then you land your jobs from A to Z. And then you also have what I call professional branding, which is really what I feel we all should strive for in terms of creating who you are, right?
right, right.
And for me, this is obviously I'm a resume writer. I've created this proprietary TAP approach. And again, I'll get to what that is, but professional brand really comes down to how you are showing up, how people know who you are. Are you being active on LinkedIn? Does your LinkedIn directly relate to you, or are you actually on there selling for somebody else that you work for right now? Does it match your resume? We almost go back to the 101 of marketing when we think about creating a professional brand. Ultimately, it boils down to once you create and put together that professional brand, you are ultimately trying to get opportunities to be attracted to you, right? Because nobody likes to be the job searcher, right? Like we don't ever want to be in that position. So the ultimate goal that I always strive to help my clients with is setting themselves up where the opportunities are coming to them. So they're never going to have to job search.
Right.
So with that being said, thinking about the TAP protocol, the T is talent acquisition, right? The A is that ATS system, right? And kind of that the gatekeeper. We can also think about it as the recruiter sometimes too can be the gatekeeper, right? In the middle of this process. And then the P stands for people. You're kind of like, who is the real person that you are ultimately trying to get to? And so using that, we can look at it in the resume writing scenario where, again, you've got talent acquisition is ultimately thinking about when I write a resume, what am I actually trying to do here? And determining that talent acquisition, right? Like, who am I writing this to? Who do I want to see this? What companies do I want to apply for? What job am I going after? Because a lot
Right.
of people just start, they think so broadly and they just start applying, 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 and they have no idea what they're even applying to.
Right.
Right. And so, like, it's too broad. We have to bring it in. We have to be specific. So it's kind of starting with that thought process of if I'm writing a resume, who am I writing this for? If I'm job searching in general, what is my ultimate goal? And you have to define that and understand that before you can really go any further than that.
That makes sense. You don't want
Um,
it too broad, but you want it a
Right.
little
You
bit
don't
more
want it too
specific.
broad, maybe
Yeah.
not too specific, but
Right.
you definitely want to hone in on something. 'Cause
Absolutely.
from a time point of view, that's huge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then that middle piece, that ATS system, like I said, I kind of call it the gatekeeper because it's it's important. And it's also you have to look at it, the ATS, you look at it as the AI, right? Like,
Hmm.
this is part of the piece of the puzzle. How do I engineer and format my job search and my resume to make sure that I am able to get through that? Because, like I said, when we look at the journey, it's ATS, it's recruiter, then it's hiring manager. And if you can't get through here, you'll never see here, right?
Right.
You'll never get
Right.
here. And so that is the other piece of when I write a resume or I'm coaching somebody in how to job search, we have to tackle that because it's
Yes.
not going to go away, right? As
Right.
much as
Right.
we
Right.
hate it, we better just figure out how to deal with it. And AI honestly can help us. I mean, that is, like I mentioned, it's not evil. It's how we get our resumes found. It's how in the ATS system, a lot of people think in the ATS is like accept or deny. And that's
Hmm.
actually not how it works. It's called parsing. That's the jargon, right? But
Right.
like we parse a resume into this system. How your resume gets to the top is again formatting, which
Hmm.
matters,
Right.
and then keywords, which all circles back to what I was talking about with that skills, right?
Right.
And if you
Right.
have the right keywords that are matching the job description that the recruiter put into this acquisition, then
Right.
you rise to the top. The recruiter actually looks at it. They're like, oh, this is a great match. It goes on and you get a call. So that's kind of that middle piece. And
Right.
then, of course, the end piece, the people, goes back to kind of two different things, right? When we think about a resume, it's that end game of that actual person that's going to read your resume, the hiring manager, that's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, we haven't met this person before. Look how they've solved everyone's problems. We have to go get them on the phone call. So it's
Right.
kind of formatting and thinking about writing a resume in that point of view, right? Where you still have to tackle this, 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 but in the end, if the content in your narrative it doesn't come through, then these don't matter.
Right. Right.
One
Right.
and the
That makes
two,
sense.
right? And
Right.
then when it comes to the job search, the P really, that person, it boils into the interview,
Right.
right? So
Hmm.
like we can't forget about that piece of the puzzle, the P of the person. When you finally get through, oh my gosh, I finally got my resume perfect. I've got my LinkedIn perfect. I've started to finally apply to jobs. I'm finally getting an interview. And then we all go,
Right.
right? Oh my God,
Exactly.
now I actually have to interview.
Right.
And there's definitely, tips and psychology around um, doing really well on an interview. And so, which is a whole nother topic,
Right.
but that is where that P kind of comes in that protocol to be like, okay, we're starting from top. We've gotten all the way through. We've gotten to the hiring manager, which is our person here. Now we're actually gonna, have an interview, and kind of teaching and coaching how you can really, do great and land that offer, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. I love this. So Megan, where can the listeners go and find more about your TAP program and more and connect with you?
Sure. Best place to be is on my website. It's careerblueprintsolutions.com. I am on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And so I think my Instagram is dream job ahead. That's the handle. And then again, my website pretty much covers everything that I offer from one-on-one coaching. I do really quick resume audits for people that can't afford the full investment of working together. But, for $75, I can basically tell you exactly what you need to do. I've got a package that does a resume and LinkedIn audit. So there's kind of a full gamut of services that I try my best to be, approachable for everybody, because I tell you what, career development and resume writing and all of that, it's just not easy these days.
No, it's not.
Especially with the way that the job market is right now, it's
Right.
stressful. It's
Right.
stressful. So yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, before we wrap up, I always love to leave my listeners with one powerful takeaway. So, what is a small shift that these working women can make, whether it be with their resume, her networking, confidence, that would you challenge them to do today?
If anything, I would tell somebody, especially working moms, to work on that professional brand.
Okay.
Truthfully, yeah. And I have a workshop course that's online all about this as well that you can find on my website. But if you can really hone in and spend, get your resume right, I call it market ready. Like just be, if you lose your job today, you're not scrambling to be like, oh my gosh, when's the last time I have to have my resume? Take the time to truly get that complete. Then get on LinkedIn and have a voice. Find out what your true value is, what you're an expert at. You don't have to post every day, but just start to network, start to be available, start to connect with people, because the more you are known for what you are an expert at in general is beneficial to have people like me as a recruiter find you and bring jobs right to you. That's the ultimate goal, especially for a working mom.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Sure, yes, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Shannon.
If today's episode sparked something for you, a question, an idea, or a realization, don't ignore it. I offer promotion strategy calls where we walk through your current role, your goals, and how to position you for your next promotion or raise without burning out or overworking. You can book that call using the link in the description. And if this episode helped you, sharing it or leaving a quick review makes a bigger difference than you know. Until next time, keep showing your value clearly. You've earned it.